Hello to you all. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of CCP Digest, another opportunity for us to dive into the matters pertaining to corporate and commercial practice in Africa and the world at large. And today we're going to be diving into the African Development Bank. Well, as we're all aware, we have a newly elected president from Mauritania, and today we're going to be diving into his manifesto, his personality, and how his manifesto is going to affect the African Development Bank and Africa at large. So here with me today, I'm joined by Hilda and Timothy. Please say hello to the digesters.
Hi digesters, and I'm Timothy, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Hi digesters, I'm Hilda and I'm happy to be here.
So I'm very glad to be here today.
Yes.
African Development Bank. I think it's a bank that embodies the whole African unit, something that brings Africa together and helps us appreciate ourselves and grow together in terms of economics, finances, and all these things.
Yes.
So in a nutshell, what can we define the African Development Bank as?
Okay, the African Development Bank, I can call it like the World Bank of African Union.
Okay.
It was founded in 1964. It's headquartered in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah. Okay.
The current president is Dr. Akinwumi Adesina from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we recently elected a new president. And every time presidents take a term of 5 years, and this term of 5 years, they are always elected by 81 finance ministers, 54 from the African countries, and the rest from non-African countries, from the rest of the world that actually contribute capital to Africa.
That's quite interesting. And I'm trying to establish Dr.
Akinwumi Adesina. Yes.
And that's fantastic. He was Nigerian, right?
Yes, some 10 years.
We're seeing the likes of Dr. Tah coming in.
Yes.
Hilda, what can you tell us about Dr. Tah?
Dr. Tah Sidi, he is the newly elected president of the African Development Bank. He is a Mauritanian economist and strategist as well. So he has just been newly elected, so he's going to be sworn in around September this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
he has succeeded Adesina from Nigeria.
Oh, yeah. And I feel like I really believe in him, given I think he was Minister of Finance.
Yes, in his home country.
In his home country.
Yeah.
Then he was in charge of some organ that was involving Arabian economics. I think Badia. Yes.
A bank for East Africa.
For Arabian Development Economic Authority, yes.
Oh, he also began his career in around 1984 with the Mauritanian Bank before coming in with the African Development Bank as well.
So this really shows us his history in finance.
Yes, he has been
a seasoned economist.
A milestone.
Yeah, a seasoned economist. Like that.
Yes. Yeah.
So now what can we pick up from his manifesto, given that we now know a bit of his background?
Yes.
And what does his manifesto say about him and what it has to do with the development bank and how it's going to affect Africa?
Okay. So Dr. Sidi has come with a manifesto with a 4-point program, which is in line with financial improvements in regards with Africa as a continent, and trying to do away with the likes of poverty, things that have been downgrading Africa, not to reach the top in terms of the economic status.
That's true. That's for sure. And I think one of his points is trying to drive out poverty by merging the financial institutions.
Yes.
Okay.
So Timothy, what do you have to tell us about the financial institution and how the merging comes together to develop poverty?
One thing that we should know is that 92% of businesses in Africa are small and medium enterprises.
Yes.
There are these types of enterprises that do not have collateral. They're just starting up. Okay, they can be started by you and I. Who might not have that generational wealth, not have that family-backed businesses. 92% of them are small and medium enterprises in Africa, but only 5% of the SMEs actually access credit.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
And one thing that Dr. Sidi Ould Tah talked about was we should find our private capital within the continent.
Yeah.
Because most times when investors come into Africa, they give us two options.
That's
One,
true.
debt, to give us debt to the business, or equity. Now, the issue why debt and equity do not work is that, number one, giving debt most young entrepreneurs do not have that collateral. Someone has their tomato stand, but they do not have that land piece that a bank needs.
Yeah.
You understand? Then also the reason why debt cannot work is because it's constringent, needs returns in a short amount of
period of time.
Yet even you look at the tax liabilities that we have.
Yeah.
And I think that also doesn't work is equity, whereby the investors try to bring in a venture capital type of funding, which does not work for us because we cannot be having the type of returns in a continent that does not have materialized infrastructure.
Yeah.
So
And that actually brings us to a very interesting one about
Yes.
one of the points that he has in
Yeah.
his manifesto. Because understanding Uganda, Mauritania is the capital city of Mauritania is Nouakchott.
Okay.
And
Yes.
you can look into the infrastructure, it's developing, it's evolving from one
Yeah.
step to another. And that's what Africa is looking like.
Yes.
Democratic Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, even Uganda as well. We have good beneficiaries of infrastructure.
Yes.
As it comes to roads, it comes to roads, we have been having like the Kampala-Jinja Express Highway.
Yes.
So, Hilda, in a nutshell, what can you say about infrastructure under Dr. Sidi's manifesto, his 4-point manifesto?
Under Dr. Sidi's 4-point manifesto, there was an initiative where he talked about the merging of the banks. And the main reason as to why he wanted this initiative was infrastructure was part of the things that he was trying to cater for in this point program.
Yeah.
So according to my recent research, I found out that 252 million was donated by the African Bank to Uganda to cater that, to work on the roads and try to have better infrastructure and
like things that help, let me say that informal sector to develop.
the informal sector to develop.
Yeah, so you can see that his 4-point program is quite interesting in that it's interlinked
Yes.
from the source of the capital to the infrastructure and development of the informal sector. So you'll see that in his kind of personality, in his kind of profession, his career, and the way he handles his economics, he's really realistic and practical.
Yes.
In that he's looking at the common Ugandan, the person in the rural areas who's trying to make some money and get out of poverty. And this is what Africa is about. You'll understand that over 80% of Uganda is rural,
Yes.
and only
True.
20% is
In the urban areas. Yeah.
So when you have someone like this, a president that is looking out for the majority, it's really a great step for the African Development Bank.
Yes.
And so that brings me to the next question. So what do you think? What do you think could be the outlook of African Development Bank under Dr. Sidi Ould Tah? What do you think could be his strength, and which area do you think you really capitalize on to ensure that his 4-point manifesto is realized?
There are 3 major units in the African Development Bank that actually look towards the development. There's the African Legal Support Facility. You guys are talking about infrastructure. The ones who advise governments on these projects.
Yeah.
They handle the financial. Most times construction contracts involve 40% law, 30% engineering, 30% finance. So the African Legal Support Facility is one that helps in getting these loans, sourcing out the capital needed for the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Then there is also the African Innovation and Entrepreneurship Labs, which is called the AfDB Labs,
Okay.
Yeah.
which it's in Cote d'Ivoire, where tech-savvy guys, it's like a small Silicon Valley that we have in Africa, whereby tech-savvy guys come in, make up their startups, and they can be able to get capital within the continent, so that they can scale and reach the levels of Google, Meta. Then, most importantly, we have the Africa 50 program, which started in 2012. It was under Dr. Ronald Kaberuka, who was before Dr. Kinumi Adesina, whereby they're trying to finance the $250 billion gap of infrastructure, because before you start getting returns in businesses, the roads have to actually work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's mostly where Dr. Sidi Ould Tah is going to derive his strength from to actually deliver the 4-point manifesto.
Yes, put out there.
Yes.
I feel like that's well answered, and I feel like it's very practical and realistic.
Mobilizing
As we
square
draw this
capital.
session to a close, I just want us to dive into the last of Dr. Tah's manifesto points. And that was just about investment and how African enterprises really need to come out and enjoy the investment platform. So Hilda, what do you have to say about that?
African countries need to bring in the concept of investors, because as a country we can't keep relying on loans
And handouts,
and handouts. So then we need to work on the investment part, because you need investors for a country to develop. Then also they have to put a limit on the taxation, because if you clearly look at the taxation of, for example, our current country, these taxes are really high. You work, let's say 100%, but you get 30% as a person. The 70% is taken in taxes. In short, we need meaningful taxes.
That's true.
Yeah.
In terms, and also meaningful developments like agriculture and tech, instead of investing in things that are not going to add more to the country and add on their financial status.
Or things that actually influence the investment. So, Timothy, what could you say about that topic to round it up and bring this to closure?
I'm just going to bring it up in the Ugandan bit, because in Uganda, the GDP, 22% of our GDP comes from agriculture, down from 59% in 1990. But then the issue is 7 out of 10 Ugandans are still in subsistence farming. 7 out of 10 Ugandans depend on agriculture, and most of them are in subsistence farming. They're not getting back the returns that they need. But then when we talk about investment in the Ugandan perspective, recently in March 2025, March this year, the country enacted partnership regulations which would facilitate the involvement of limited liability partnerships, because limited liability partnerships are needed for private equity and venture capital types of funding, whereby they are general partners and also they're limited partners. General partners are the people who manage the businesses that they're taking over, that they're investing in. Then limited partners are the investors that we've talked about, the ones who bring in the capital, but they want back their returns, right? So before, as in accordance to the Companies Act before, we never had the freedom to start an LLP, because you had to sign in a memorandum. There were very many articles of association, very many things to go through. And then when you hand them into URSB, there was no strict time period when they had to get back to you. But then for the partnership regulations now, URSB has to either accept or refuse within 15 days of application. That's one thing we have to look at. Another thing also is, when the reason why investors fear coming to Africa to invest in Africa is the high chance that they will not be able to exit, like through IPOs or acquisitions. And the reason why this is very hard is because most African countries, especially Uganda, previously Uganda used to have this type of system whereby if you want to close a company, you have to wind it up, to be the bankruptcy, to be a long process of about close to like 9 months, close to a year. No investor wants to go through that hustle and tussle. Steve Schwarzman of Blackstone wouldn't want to go through all that hustle and tussle. But now the partnership regulations of 2025 bring it in such a way that in case there's a cessation clause within the partnership agreement that says when you get these types of returns, we can exit. You do not have to go through the whole process of winding up and all. So it makes it easier for companies to actually live. And I believe this is going to attract more investors within Uganda, because we already have the climate, we already have the good soil. It's just now the taxes and the investment exits that was needed more.
So, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Timothy. That has been really profound and thorough. On the taxation and how it affects investment and how it affects companies coming up and falling down. And I think that's what we have today. Thank you very much, Digesters, for tuning in. African Development Bank. Feel free, and I implore you all to make some more research and understand how this bank affects us and how we can benefit from it as a nation. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Ciao.
Thank you very much. See you next time.
Subscribe.